Why don't we go around? Let me suggest. I'm Michael, and let me suggest we go around. And here's what I'd like to suggest: give us your name, what you do to earn a living, and where you reside, or you live or work. So why don't we start, Ryan? I don't know. Why don't just for fun? Why don't you start?
Sure. My name is Ryan McCormick, and I'm co-founder of Golden McCormick Public Relations, and I reside in North Carolina and New York.
What percentage in North Carolina and what percentage in New York?
I'd say good 85 to 90%. I travel back and forth to New York on a regular basis. But New York is probably where my heart ultimately is.
Did someone just join the call? No? All right, Ryan, my question, though, is, are you in North Carolina 90% of the time and New York 10, or?
Yeah, I'd say, yeah, New York. North Carolina, much greater part of town. It's where my house is. But, I mean, I'm always back and forth.
90% North Carolina and 10% New York. Okay, got it. All right, and a public relations for, great.
Yep.
Right, who wants to go next?
I will. I'm Shane Sutherland. I am a wealth advisor, and I'm in Santa Monica, California.
Great. And as a wealth advisor, you help people with their financial planning and strategies and investments?
Correct. Investments, financial planning, and transitioning through money changes in their life.
Money changes. Great. Okay. All right. Who's next? I think Rachel, do you want to go next?
Yeah, sure. Hi, my name is Rachel Anna Kutcher. I'm a writer, and I live in Amsterdam.
In Amsterdam?
Yes.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
The Netherlands. Yeah.
In the Netherlands. That's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
You sound so close, too. All right. Great. And let's see. Who? Oh, Kathy.
Okay.
Go next,
Kathy. Sure. That's exciting that Rachel's from the Netherlands.
It really is, and she sounds so close.
I know. So my name's Kathy Bird. I'm also a writer, and I'm on a deadline for a book that's due on August 1st. I'm with Hay House Publishing, and my occupation is a realtor, a residential realtor, and I work out of Malibu for a company called Compass, and I live in Thousand Oaks, which is just inland from Malibu.
Great. How far, I think I've asked you this before, how far is Thousand Oaks from Malibu?
Like 20 minutes, 25 minutes.
Great. Cool. All right, well, welcome. Before, I have a couple of remarks and then we'll have conversation, but what I do want to ask everybody, you are all, I believe, members of the Excel community, which is very flattering to me and exciting. And each of you receive a weekly video on Sunday, every Sunday morning at 8 a.m. Los Angeles time. We issue a 5-minute video to you. Is that all correct? Anyone not receiving that?
I'm not sure about the exact time, but I do receive it once a week.
Well, yeah, you would have a time difference, but okay,
Exactly.
Great. So you each get them. Now, I know some of you are watching them on the same day, and some of you are binge watching them, and so forth. But can anyone offer any feedback on how you're experiencing them, what they're helping you with or not, what you'd like to see improved or changed, just any feedback at all, or something that you find is valuable or not valuable, or just, if somebody we could just go around the room or the table, I guess, and ask for feedback. I'd love that. So who wants to start?
I can say one thing. I'm really impressed with the production quality. I can watch those forever, and I love the graphics. And every time I watch it, I think, ooh, I need Michael to teach me how to do this. So,
yeah, well, I don't know how, so I promise you I couldn't. But the man who does know how to do it is on the phone, John, are you on the phone?
Oh.
John, are you on the phone? I guess John is not on the phone. Is anyone else on the phone other than the registrants? Evidently not. Okay, well, I guess John's... Okay, so what I'll do, if you're interested, Kathy, send me a little note, and I'll try to put you in touch with John, because maybe they can do some for you or something of that sort.
That would be great.
Great production value. I agree with you. Okay, anyone else? Ryan, do you want any feedback?
Yes.
And I'm not fishing for compliments, guys. I'd like your positive comments or your negative or your improvements. Pretend you're sitting with me alone and giving me some feedback.
Okay, I just want to say that I found the videos very interesting. I tend to listen to them in the morning before starting work, so it's kind of like a morning pep talk, which are really cool. But I think that it'd be interesting if, when you're talking about a particular subject, that you cite specific examples throughout the course of your career when you were able to utilize that lesson at hand, because I think that you've got such an interesting and intriguing background that when you emphasize lessons, like, here's a reason why you should not be flaky. Okay, well,
Right,
back
so
when I first started,
Mike,
at the time, the collection director, for example, really personalize it. And one of the recent videos that you did, that was really interesting. You were talking about how, if you have great people skills, you can be very successful. You'll have a competitive edge. I always wanted to know if you could elaborate on that a little bit more. Like, what are 3 compelling people skills? Like, how to, because a lot of these things that you touch upon, you get to the main points, but there's so much more to them. Like, there's so much more that to make you question a lot more.
Yeah. Well, that is in part, first of all, it's very good feedback. It's in part what the calls are for, but I'm writing down the personalization. Okay, Rachel, any comments or thoughts?
I find them interesting to listen to. I do feel they can be a little bit more specific, possibly, and then also, having lived in so many different cultures, it's not always applicable to where you might be living.
Can you give us an example of that? Like, in other words,
Well,
I'm sorry, Rachel, I'm speaking as an American. So you're saying, Michael, if you tried that approach in South Africa, it would not work very well.
Well, yeah, that's one example, and especially in the Netherlands, people here, if you smile at them, they see it as flirting. Well, in South Africa, not. And in America, I'm not sure anymore. I haven't lived there for many years. So it's like, yeah, it's not the same everywhere. So
Yeah, it really isn't. That's a great...
a thought process to decide how to apply your, or what to apply of your ideas, even though many of them are very interesting. And
Yeah. But you're right. There's a cultural, the world is, it's a cultural difference. That's a very good point. I'm writing as you're speaking. Okay, and Shane, do you have any feedback, positive, negative, neutral, challenging?
My feedback would be right now when I take a look at the videos, I usually try to come away with one idea or thought that I'll carry with me throughout the week, write it down. And I usually tag the email so I can pull it up either on my phone or work or wherever it becomes a convenient time for me to look at it.
And do you listen to it or listen to it more than once a week?
Probably because I don't always have the ability to give it all my focus at that moment.
Yeah.
So I'll go through it, think I hear what I think I'm hearing, and then at some point when I know that I have a few more moments and maybe digest it a little bit, I'll go back and take a look at it maybe a second time.
One thought for you, and one thought for everyone, is that, I understand about focus and distraction. I get it. But if you listen to it, try to listen to it or watch it with undivided attention, with a pad and pen, and you write down the main thoughts, I think it will assist you. Like, for example, just now, as you guys are talking, I was listening to Ryan speak, and he said personalization, and I just wrote that word really big. And then
Sorry,
Rachel,
could you please repeat the word? What did you say?
personalization.
Okay.
Yeah. Give me a personal example. That's Ryan's takeaway point. And then in Rachel, she's talking about cultural difference and so forth. So my point here is I would encourage you, if you feel inclined, to listen, to watch with a pad and pen and undivided attention. I mean, that would be my encouragement. But, you know, people do whatever they want to do, and there they are. Okay, so let me, I'm just going to pull out a couple of little notes here that I wanted to get to for today, and we'll see where the conversation takes us. Just bear with me. Okay. About a month and a half ago, I read an article. I think it was on the internet, actually. Bill Gates' 10 most important books. Now, since Bill Gates is going to go down in history as one of the most powerful and influential, not only businessmen, but also philanthropists in the history of humanity. And these are his 10 books. I thought it might be a pretty good idea to write the names of the books down. And then what I did is I did not go out and buy the 10 books. I had an intern work through me, go and research the 10 books, and bring to me, on each of the 10 books, a 3 or 4 page overview of the salient points. Now, by the way, this is about 2 keystrokes away from every person on the phone call. What I'm saying to you is, if you want to know about any book, any of my books, any book at all, you can, with 2 or 3 keystrokes, go on the internet and get the salient points. Now, you're not going to get the entire book, of course, but you're going to get the main themes. And you will not know everything that the book said, and you will not know the joy of reading the book, but you will have a pretty good condensed version of the central themes of the book. So there you go. And listen, I have an intern. Maybe you do, maybe you don't, or maybe you want to do it yourself, but you can do it. So I did it. Now, one of the books on the Bill Gates Top 10 is a book called Sapiens, A Brief History of Humankind. Sapiens, A Brief History of Humankind. And now, this does not exactly sound like, beach reading or romantic reading. But, and frankly, does not sound like the kind of book that I would normally buy. But I looked it up, or I had someone do it for me. And in it, there was some references to human nature. Sapiens, A Brief History of Humankind. This is about humankind. And here is the sentence that is installed in the book. Remember, this is one of the top 10 books of all time that Bill Gates chose. Humans, I'm going to read this to you. Humans are petty, selfish, brutal, and ambitious. But we are all...
humans are pretty self. You say
humans. Okay, hold on one second. I'll do it again. I'm sorry, I know you're so far away and I'm doing my best here. Okay.
I'm just writing it down.
Yeah. Humans are petty, selfish, brutal, and ambitious. And we are also simultaneously generous, foolish, whimsical, and fair. We are complex, composite of traits, both good and bad. And we are also evolutionary miracles. Now, why is this, from my perspective, why is this sensible? Because the people you are interacting with, the people you are loving, the people you are meeting, selling to, friends with, partnering with, are human. And humans are petty, selfish, brutal, ambitious, generous, foolish, whimsical, and fair, and so are you. And so we see things through our own prism of foolishness, selfishness, brutality, ambition, and generosity, and all whimsical and fair, and all these things. And we're complicated. And we're complicated, and our friends are complicated, and our lovers are complicated, and our customers are complicated. And we have to, and I think we need to think about that a bit. I don't think we necessarily have to act on it, but we have to understand that when we create a simple logic for selling, a simple logic for, a simple rule, it has to overlay on the terribly complicated nature of human behavior. And, I have attempted in the past to make a more simplistic point that humans make decisions for both logical and emotional reasons. And that's much more simplistic than what this book indicates. And that emotion is a very important piece of the decision.
Sorry, Michael, do you mind to please repeat the sentence before this one?
I don't recall it. I'm sorry. Humans, I have tried to make a more simplistic point, that humans make decisions both for logical and emotional reasons, and that often emotion wins, vanquishes, wins. And that further, when a human being is hungry, angry, lonely, or tired, emotion rules the day. And so, in an earlier video, I talked about how important it is to, we were talking about how important it is to use charm, grace. I said that a little charm and a little grace will take you many places that mere hustle can't. And then Rachel indicated, well, Michael, that may be true, but, cultures respond differently. And that may be true. But let's remember that one thing that's universal, human beings are yearning to feel important. And that brings me to another point. The woman in the world, a woman named Mary Kay, started a cosmetic line, created more female millionaires than anyone ever, used to give a lecture to her women. She had only women selling her cosmetics for her, Mary Kay Cosmetics. And she gave a lecture to them. And she said to her women that making $1 million was pretty easy if you understood the following rule. Of course, the women who want to earn $1 million listened very attentively and wrote carefully. She said, I'm going to give you the most important rule you need to remember in making $1 million. And women were very excited. She said, women, are you ready? I want you to imagine, starting today, that every person you meet, every man, every woman, every child, every old person, gay or straight, black or white, young or old, is walking around the world with an invisible sign around their neck. And only you can see it. No one else can see it, including themselves. You can see it, but they can't, and no one else can. And every person has a sign around their neck, a sandwich sign. And that sign says the same thing. Every single person's sign says the same thing. Only you can see it, and they can't, and no one else can. And the sign says, please make me feel important. Please make me feel important. And I would challenge our friend Rachel on the phone. There is no culture in the world in which people do not want to feel valuable or important. So that might be something for us to consider today. And the book Sapiens, if you choose to look it up, kind of interesting thing. Now, in another of the 10 books, this one called Business Adventures by John Brooks. Business Adventures by John Brooks. Basically, Business Adventures is a book that details 12 critical moments in American business. The rise of Xerox, interesting kind of book if you're interested in business. And in this book, it goes through 12 case studies. It's kind of interesting. And one of them is in 1962, there was something called a flash crash, 1962. And basically, in 3 days, fear and panic led the stock market to plummet $20 billion, only to boomerang a few days later. And in that story, interesting kind of story, why did 3 days this happen, come back? And he says again here in the book, related to the other book, at their core, humans are basically emotional, irrational beings. So again, we're talking more about the emotional nature of the way people make decisions and they think about things. And I think this is kind of fascinating. Next up is, now I'm going to turn, if I might, to modern life. 1600 years ago, Augustine argued that the essence of a good life is choosing the right things to love and loving them well. 1600 years ago, Augustine argued that the essence of a good life is choosing the right things to love and loving them well. Well, over the last century, and maybe much more in the last 10 years, human behavior has amputated love. We are now so distracted with so many things that we are not attending. We're not picking the right things to love, and we're not devoting the time and attention that they require. And of course, this shift has caused unimaginable harm. And it has for me as well. I mean, I'm not immune. Just because I can put a few sentences together on the phone doesn't mean that I'm immune. I'm living in the same world that you are, and suffering the same consequences. Now, in overlaying those ideas onto schooling today, basically, what studies indicate are many students are going to school lacking a secure emotional base. I mean, perhaps, many kids are going into school today lacking a secure emotional base. They're living in homes of a lot of chaos. And because of that, their scores, because their emotional foundation has been collapsing in such drastic ways, the capacity for them to perform is deeply injured. And teachers are trying. Teachers are trying very hard to improve children's capacity to learn, but because they have no emotional basis at home, they're having a very difficult time. And so we are here again, I think, the way we learn things, the way we teach things, depends on our emotional base and the base of the people we're trying to speak to. I think that's kind of interesting. Another important book, I believe, for you to investigate, I am in the process of reading this one right now, called The Power of Habits. The Power of Habits, subtitled, Why We Do What We Do in Life and Business. This is a 2002 book, The Power of Habits. I'll just give you a little indicator here. One study by Duke University, researchers found that more than 40% of the actions people performed every day weren't actually decisions, but habits. Power of Habits. I would commend that book to you. Anyway, I think those are some notes for today. And I imagine if you're taking some notes, you may want to go on the internet or wherever you'd like, go to the library and do a little more research on those. And of course, the critical point becomes, how do we take that which has been discussed on the phone today, whether it be habits, emotional foundation, rationality or irrationality, and apply it to our lives. And of course, that's a deeper and richer conversation that we have to think about over time, because these factors are at play, I believe. Anyway, does anybody have any feedback, questions, comments, suggestions, alternative speeches?
Hey, Michael, it's Ryan. I just wanted to ask you something real quick. As far as one of the books goes, you're talking about Bill Gates, about how human beings would like to feel happy. I'm just curious, from your perspective, is there a point or a overall level of happiness that we need to aspire to treat clients like? Or do you think that most people today need to have much more happiness because they lack self-worth? I mean, I'm just kind of curious, what is the minimal or the average amount of happiness you need to provide for a human being to feel fulfilled?
Look, in America today, Ryan, middle-class Americans are above. Now, I'm not talking about people in poverty. I'm talking about middle-class Americans are above. Have everything they need, except two things: time, peace of mind. Okay? So if you're selling your product or service to a middle-class American or above, and you can somehow figure out a way to provide them with time or peace of mind, you will be a wealthy person. If you can make the transaction that you're proposing to the middle-class American or above easier, like Uber, right, or Lyft, if you can make something more convenient for them because they have no time or peace of mind, you will be a very wealthy person. And now, I can't speak to what if that's true in, northern northern South Africa or Australia, or I just can't speak to that. But I can tell you my experience of Americans today. They are terribly, terribly overwrought, overstimulated, and if you can provide them with either time or piece of convenience in something, you will be a wealthy person. I don't know if that answers your question fully. The other thing is the extra. I mean, it is so self-evident to me that if you, happiness is really an expectations game. If you are relating to Sally, and you expect Sally to do A, B, C, D, and E, and she does A, B, and C, you're going to be miserable because she disappointed you. But if you're expecting Sally to do A and B, and she does A, B, C, and D, you're thrilled. So the key becomes the old adage, under-promise, over-deliver. When you're setting up a relationship, a transaction, whether it be personal or professional, under-promise and over-deliver. And try to create clarity around. See, remember, going back to the humans are rational beings. See, if Kathy and I are speaking on the phone, right? And Kathy says, Michael, I've enjoyed talking to you. Please stay in touch with me. To me, that might mean once a year. To Kathy, it might mean once a day. Right? So if Kathy's expectations are, if I say, absolutely, Kathy, I will stay in touch, and Kathy's expectations are that she'll hear from me every day, and I only call her once a week, she'll think I'm a jackass. But if Kathy's expectations are I'll call her once a year and I call her once a week, she'll think, wow, what's with this guy? Why is he calling me all the time? So expectations, happiness, under-promise, over-deliver. In our cell cycle, we make statements to people that are implied, that indicate something that are not likely to happen. All right, so Ryan, that's your comment or question. Kathy, any comments, questions, thoughts, or ideas for today? You don't have to. I don't want anyone to feel up.
I just find it all very valuable. I'm going to look up the list of books, Bill Gates' books.
And by the way, if you aren't as turned on by Bill Gates as I or somebody else, then look up Oprah's 10 books. Or look up, I don't know, figure out.
Yeah, well, I thought of Oprah. I really thought of Oprah when you were talking because I just heard her speak recently at UCLA. And the one thing she said is that the underlying human, I was comparing it to the thing of feeling important, but she said basically we're all looking for love and connection, which is just probably another way of saying that, really.
Yeah, I think it is. I think some people need more connected stimuli. They're looking for love and validation. Sure, I think that there's nothing wrong with that. All right. So now, Kathy, any other thoughts, or is that?
That's very very
okay.
Interesting. Again,
good.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Sister Shane, any comments, questions, thoughts, suggestions?
Yes, this is a little off point, Michael, but
sure.
Ryan, you
Yes.
said that you're in North Carolina and you run a PR firm.
He does.
Tell me, what is it like in this current environment? Do you find that businesses are thriving in North Carolina, or are they facing roadblocks?
I think that first of all, I want to say that I think my job is so much fun. It's probably the most exciting job I've ever had. And as far as the businesses go in North Carolina, I think there's a lot of anxiety because of the uncertainty about the economic conditions. I mean, this is a thriving economy. A lot of people are moving to North Carolina, but because of all the negative press and publicity that has happened because of the laws against transgender bathrooms. A lot of businesses have been leaving, and a lot of businesses are hesitant to invest in North Carolina. So it's exciting, but there's also a lot of anxiety about new businesses seeking to relocate here. But as far as my industry goes, it's not been impacted whatsoever by what's happening over here because we serve clients all over the world.
I see.
If
I might ask, I was just going to ask who is your primary client? Just curious. No, just curious. That's all.
Attorneys, authors, financial experts.
I see.
So those are probably our first.
I see.
I do want to mention, based on Ryan's comment, Ryan indicated that he felt that one of the challenges in North Carolina is that people are suffering from a kind of low grade or even high grade anxiety. Right? And I don't think that is specific to North Carolina. I think people in modern life are suffering from a rather chronic case of anxiety. The world is changing so rapidly. In my father's America, right? In my father's America, a Hershey bar was 5 cents. His father paid 5 cents. He paid 5 cents. It was always going to be 5 cents. It wasn't going to be 10 cents in 5 years or 3 years or 12 years. It was solid. A phone call was a nickel or a dime. That was how it was. It didn't go up. It didn't change. We are living, modern life is so ripe, so pregnant with endless change that and disruption. You know, imagine if you were a cab driver for 30 years. You're a cab driver. You own a cab and you're a cab driver for 30 years. And then one day you wake up and there's this thing called Uber. How do you plan? I mean, so I think that we're all suffering from some anxiety. I don't think it's specific to North Carolina. Rachel, a question or comment before we close for today?
No, thank you. It was very interesting to join the call and the conversation. And the one thing that I still need to sometimes figure out is, because I grew up speaking British English, I then learned American English, and then I also speak Dutch and Afrikaans. So when I translate words, I don't even know if it means the exact thing that I think. I'm close most of the time, but sometimes it's
Of course. Well, first of all, you should be proud of yourself that you're able to be so fluent in so many different languages and cultures. That's quite impressive. Anyway, that's it for today. It's an honor to talk to you all. You'll be getting your video on Sunday. Your feedback is important. If you feel that there are people in your lives who might benefit from this, particularly young people. You know, every person on this telephone call is either 20, and I'm not sure there are many 30s. And I see a ferocious need among the 20s and 30s to learn things that they just don't teach you in school. So perhaps you might know of somebody in their 20s or 30s that might do this. I know one member of our community is gifting it to their daughter. So, who's 20? Lovely. But anyway, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for being a member of this community. We'll talk again next month, and I'm very grateful for your time. And Kathy, am I going to see you later?
That's what I was going to ask you. Should I call you?
Call me later. Yeah. That'd be great.
I'll call you.
All right.
Okay.
God bless. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Michael.
Bye-bye.
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 Bye.